Stuart, would you please speak about the second part of the double breathing exercise where the energy rises up the spine?
Yeah, of course. Look, it's the anatomy of Kundalini yoga. First of all, spine is the only area in a human being where energy rises. Spine has to be straight. Spine has to really be a carrier for Kundalini energy. Each chakra is connected to the spine. The heart, the third eye, the throat, below the navel, the sex, it's all connected to the spine. And the purpose of all of it is almost like create a mandala inside ourselves where all of these centers are, really, you know, opening so that, the energy really connects to the spine and it rises to the top of the head. When energy moves through the sex, I've spoken about this a lot. It's a very important thing and it's kind of a difficult thing because, when you deal with the subject of sex and sexuality, a lot of different interpretations and the way people look at it and et cetera, et cetera. But in the practice we do, it's an essential ingredient. It's the area, as I've said many times, where the male female principle, the yin yang, the Shiva Shakti, it's the area inside every single one of us where that union takes place. And that marriage of the male female that takes place in the sexual area, that's what gives birth to the Kundalini. The energy from that marriage gives birth to Kundalini, and Kundalini rises up the spine to the crown chakra, and it'll germinate there and maybe take time for, it's like, you know, a chicken being hatched, or a chick being hatched from an egg. But in time, it germinates, and then, like they call it, a thousand petal lotus. The crown chakra will open. The soul of a human being will then connect with the soul of the universe. Opens up whole new levels of consciousness, new levels of realization, takes us out of ourself and allows us to begin to experience, it's almost like a visionary world, the Bardo realm, the, astral traveling, et cetera, et cetera. So the spine is the key. The spine has to be straight and it acts like, as if the, Kundalini is a railroad train, on tracks, the spine of the tracks, that the energy moves up and really connects with the crown chakra. It's simple to explain, although it took years for me to get to where I can explain it. It's not a complicated thing. It's whether or not we do the inner work that makes what I'm talking about possible. Because yes, it's a great idea and it certainly leads to spiritual enlightenment. But then you have the problem from the idea to people doing it. And that is where training is necessary, where people have to learn how to do it, where they can't take their inner life, their spiritual life, their meditation practice for granted. As I've said over and over again, it has to become a priority, not something you kind of fit in between, yoga class and dance class and this kind of class and that, and I'll go and, do a meditation. Actually, it makes me feel good when it's finished. It has to be a priority. And the work to accomplish what I'm talking about is really profound work. You have to transform your entire inner person. You have to get rid of so many old habits and so much conditioning in the way we live in order to allow the yin and the yang, the Shiva, the male, female to come together, to marry and give birth to the Kundalini. And although it sounds esoteric, once you start doing this thing, it's not esoteric. Getting centered in the chakra below the navel is not esoteric. You discover it works. Get you calm, get you balanced inside, get you grounded inside. It enables you to deal with all the impossible circumstances we as human beings have to deal with every day without allowing those things to just drain us, drain our lives away from us, you know? That's the alternative. I mean, when I was a kid, you know, younger, whoever knew anything about chakras, you know? It was something that I don't even know if it was a word in the dictionary. I mean, it was something that, you know, you heard about, but it, you know, today it's just common. I mean, 12-year-old kids can tell you about chakras today. Can they do it? Can they do the work? People? No, but everybody knows about chakras. But do they know how? I mean, I was watching a video about Shiva on one of the streaming stations. And it's very, you know, and it's interesting. It's like a tour of Indian temples, and it's yeah, very nice. The architecture, the ancient temples, going to Ellora, Ajanta, you know, all those temples, mostly Hindu temples. And but nobody talks about how do you do it? How do you do it? How does the energy of Shiva manifest inside you and truly give you a spiritual life? What do you have to do to receive that? Nobody talks about that. But they take you on tours of temples, and I love it. You know, I mean, look, I've been in India so many times, and many of those, like Pashupatinath, I've been to these places, and they are extraordinary places. And you look at them in wonderment how in the 6th century people could have built places like that. Where today you look at the buildings they built and it's scary, you know?
Mm.
But nobody talks about how do you do it? How do you get the yin and the yang to unify inside you? Everybody talks about the male female principle, but nobody tells you how to do it. And that was my problem when I was younger. I used to hear people talk about these things, but nobody said, here's a way to do it until I met Rudy. And there was a way to do it. But man, it required a commitment like I never knew I was capable of making when I was younger. And I really mean that, to learn this. It couldn't be some, you know, night class at the new school that I took once a week in yoga. You know, we're talking about something that is powerful, it works, it's real, but we have to learn it and we have to master it. And it doesn't just happen. You know, it's like Zen painting. You know, they take a brush and make a circle, and it's a masterpiece. It takes about 12 seconds. But you don't realize what went into making that circle was 25 years of study. Learning how to get quiet, learning how to tap chi, learning how, you know, to be open to allow the spirit to make the circle and not the mind and emotions. And
Mm.
it takes 20 years of training
Mhm.
people to master a circle. So the importance of bringing energy to the base of the spine, of activating Kundalini, of allowing that energy to rise up the spine, in order to go into the crown chakra and begin to germinate. And then the opening of all of this is an essential part of Kundalini yoga. And we practice Kundalini yoga. But one has to understand, you don't learn this coming to meditation once every 2 weeks or once a week. It's really hard to learn. It took me years to learn the things I talk about and the things I do.
Mm.
And I know life has many commitments and many things, but honestly, I talk about it a lot. It's that incredible, it's coming up too, that exodus from Egypt, the slaves, escaped from the Egyptians that were using them as slaves. And their need for a spiritual life to go to the promised land was so strong that Moses was able to wave a wand and the Red Sea parted. Well, that is an incredible metaphor for this work. The need is so profound to attain a state of enlightenment that all the things I'm talking about begin to take place inside because one does the work to make it happen. And then it looks simple when it happens. It's not, it's work. It's creating a chakra system, working on a chakra that's open to higher energy. Does that, I hope that's clear, Pat.
Yes, Stuart, thank you very much.
Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And if you don't do the work, don't complain about your life. I mean, I really mean it. Accept, well, this is what I want, and this is the amount of effort I make, and this is what I do, and things go haywire. And look, even when you do the work, you don't think things go haywire in my life? For God's sake, this has been some winter.
Mm.
Been through this winter with people and getting sick and this and that, and things go haywire. But you have the inner capacity to deal with it without allowing it to tear you apart. And if you don't do a prioritized inner work inside yourself, and if negative things happen, don't complain about them. You know, build a system that enables you to deal with them. That's what they're telling you. They're saying to you, schmuck, build a system so you can deal with my bullshit, life bullshit. You get stronger inside. That's what I'm teaching you. Does anybody else have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
Tom, could you speak about um, the experience of chi in the naval center? And I could ask you questions about that, three or four if you want, or you could speak about that.
Well, it's very simple, Tom. Chi is harmony, it's balance, it's rootedness, it's foundation, it's inner strength that enables you to do two things: to work out your karma in the world without your karma making you crazy, and to be connected to spirit. That's what chi is. And you build it by learning how to focus your attention there. And instead of being driven crazy by your thinking and conflict and tension in the mind, you use that energy to develop chi by learning how to bring it down and stay focused in the chakra below the navel. And without that rootedness, man, look what goes on in this world. I mean, you really have to isolate yourself, maybe in a cave somewhere, and live like some, monk in order to escape the stuff that goes on in the world. But if we live in the world, and we all do, we're barraged with craziness all the time. But and it's telling you, all it's telling you, the universe is telling you, this is not going to stop. You have to get stronger, build the chi, develop the hara, the tatien, get stronger, build the core of your being, because that's where all your power is. Give you the power to deal with money problems and relationship problems and all the things, the crazy politics that goes on in the world and all the crazy stuff. And all it's teaching us is we have to get stronger. We have to get stronger. If we look at it as something that offends us and makes us unhappy and we want to run away and hide from it, that's what we create. But if we look at it, hey, this is tough stuff. I got to get stronger in myself. I have to build chi in order to deal with this stuff that life is presenting me all the time. It's very easy to complain about all this stuff that goes on in life. It doesn't take a genius to see what's wrong in this life. It takes an amazing person to look at it and say, okay, I got to get stronger. I have to build a chakra system that is strong enough to deal with karma. Otherwise, I'm going to come back here and have to do it all over again till I learn how to build that kind of system inside. And that is centered around chi, power, rootedness in the chakra below the navel. I can't say it enough. It's too easy to get offended by life. It's very difficult to say, okay, what do I have to do not to get offended by all this nonsense? What do I have to do to be strong enough in myself to quietly and calmly deal with all the bullshit that goes on in the world? That's where you build chi. That's why the first step that Rudy taught me, bring the focus of your attention to the chakra below the navel. And instead of the mind driving you crazy, the mind becomes like a surgical instrument that opens the very core of your being. So you can tap that chi. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, Tom. You have 4 more questions? Or did I answer them all? I'm just kidding. Does anyone else have a question you'd like to ask? And don't try to think it through. It's never going to work. Just get your heart open. And suddenly life will be okay. That's it. Get your heart open. Life will be okay. A closed heart, you know, everything's coming out the kitchen sink. All that tension backs up here. Mind, you know, we go crazy. Get your heart open. Be grateful. That's it. You need chi to be grateful. You have to have real strength inside to have gratitude, humility, love, to be a happy person.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, if you have problems, have headaches, open your heart. I'm sure they're going to go away. Open your heart, the headache will go away. Don't think it, just make the headache worse. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Hmm.
Okay. If there are no questions, then no more questions. Very good questions. Terrific. Thank you, both of you. There'll be a class on tomorrow. I'm hoping to see you all then, and God bless you all. Thank you for being here this evening. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yes, Stuart. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.